When people think of art, the first thing that comes to mind is a painting or a drawing, but in reality, art exists everywhere around us. I never really knew much about art until I was in the sixth grade. I saw my older sister started a passion for drawing, and as a younger sister, I ended up wanting to do exactly the same. I remember going up to my teacher and asking her if she had any art supplies in class that she wanted to throw away or something that she can lend to me. She actually ended up bringing me two huge art sets that she had at home that she never had opened. And I would say since then, my love for art began to grow. I still do think I need a lot to learn about different types of art. When I started learning about art, my favorite thing was to draw with pencil and shade. The benefit of my experience was my school loved going to the Getty Museum, so for my art, I chose to go to the Getty Museum. The first piece I chose is called The Portrait of Louis XIV. The Sun King's famous portrait captures the opulence and power of absolute monarchy in the 17th century France. This painting, which was painted in 1701 by renowned French painter Rigaude, was meant to be a present for Philip V of Spain, Louis's grandson, but the king kept it at the palace of Versailles due to its magnificence. Stated in the article Portrait of Louis XIV, it states the work inspired the King of Spain's request to the king, his grandfather, to give him his portrait painted by the same hand, which His Majesty granted him. Rigaude had the honor to start the following year, and when it finished, the monarch found the resemblance so perfect and so beautifully decorated, he ordered Rigaude to make a copy of the same size to send to the King of Spain. Instead, the original, standing with one hand on his hip and the other resting on command baton, Louis XIV was shown by Rigaude with all of his royal trappings, projecting strength and assurance. In addition to his showcasing the king's riches and rank, the detail of his clothing, from the luxurious materials and dexterous lace to the ceremonial sword on his robe, acts as a symbol of his heavenly right to govern. The picture continues to be a key example of royal portraiture and a monument of the luxury of the French court because of its minute attention to detail and portrayal of Louis. Renowned French Baroque painter Rigaude became one of the most well-known portraits of his day, especially for his paintings of Louis and other French royalty. Rigaude was born in Perpignan and trained in Lyon before relocating to Paris, where the royal court soon noticed his skill. The aristocracy loved Rigaude because of his remarkable precision and vitality in capturing the essence of his subjects, as well as his deft handling of materials and textiles, which led to his portraits being highly regarded not only for their technical mastery, but also for their ability to capture the grace, power, and dignity of the French nobility of Louis XIV's day. The Portrait of Louis XIV, his masterwork and evidence to his genre mastery, combines sumptuous detail with a profound comprehension of character and rank to create a picture that goes beyond simple depiction to become an emblem of time. Because of the artistic and historical relevance of his portraits, Rigaude made a significant contribution to the visual documentation of French political and cultural life. His legacy is still highly regarded. Rigaude's paintings is more than simply a depiction of the French king. It is a brilliant demonstration of creative ability and thoughtfully crafted emblem of unquestionable authority and divine right. Louis XIV is portrayed in this opulent full-length painting as the height of his authority, his body commanding the canvas as he looks menacingly at the observer. From the glistening satin of the king's robes to the delicate elaborate lace and the velvety curtain in the backdrop, Rigaude's skill is seen in the painstaking representation of the textures and materials. The king's posture, which accentuates his regal demeanor, and his luxurious red heels, a look he popularized, highlights his grandeur and authority even more. The scepter and crown are purposefully left out of the king's direct reach, and the lavish setting adds to the impression of his absolute power. Although this painting celebrates the person, it also makes a strong statement about nature of royalty, summarizing the spirit of Louis XIV's reign and French absolute age. My second piece is Henry Moore's Draped Reclining Mother and Baby, which encapsulates the enduring theme of maternity protection and the innate bond between mother and child. Elements that have perennially recurred throughout Moore's illustrious career, cast in bronze, a material that Moore favored for its durability and ability to convey both the tenderness and the monumental nature of his subjects. This sculpture is a testament to his mastery in capturing the essence of human relationships through abstract forms. Moore's work often explores the concept of mother and child, but what it sets Draped Reclining Mother and Baby apart is its synthesis of intimacy and universality. Moore wrote, "There are three fundamental poses of the human figure. One is standing, the other is seated, and the third is lying down. But from all three poses, the reclining figure gives me the most freedom, compositionally and spatially. The figures are abstracted yet unmistakably bonded, with the mother's form providing a protective, enveloping presence around the smaller, dependent child. The drapery adds a textural dimension that contrasts with the smoothness of figures, suggesting the layers of complexity in maternal bond. A rich golden surface punctuated by bright highlights and dark caverns enhances the sculpture's warm, protective quality. The horizontal forms hollows and curves tarnished and hatched to emphasize depth, partly transform the figure into glimmering, rolling landscape. It also serves to anchor the figures in a timeless space, evoking classical antiquity while being deeply rooted in modernist principles. The sculpture's reclining pose is reflective of Moore's interest in the landscape, with the human figures often mirroring the undulating forms of hills and valleys. This connection between the human form and the earth itself speaks to the universality of maternal care and protection as fundamental forces in human experience. Moore's abstraction does not alienate, but rather invites the viewer to engage with the sculpture on a deeply personal level, projecting their own experiences and emotions onto the universal shapes. Completed the latter part of his career, Draped Reclining Mother and Baby embodies the culmination of Moore's lifelong fascination with themes of motherhood and familial connections. Distilled into a form that balances abstraction with emotional depth, through this sculpture, Moore continues to communicate the timeless and universal significance of maternal bond, making it compelling in the broader context of the 20th century art. The image, Draped Reclining Mother and Baby, by Henry Moore, captures the theme of motherhood, protection, and the natural relationship between mother and child. Understanding art is a very special talent. Everywhere around us is art, we just have to notice it. I think these two pieces were very different forms of art, but both fascinating in its own way, with the story behind them. Learning about these two pieces helped me understand the differences of art.